Hello and welcome to another watercolor filled day on this channel. I'm Miranda. My face is in other videos if you'd like to check them out on this channel, but not today. I don't know why. On this channel we do watercolor, lots of watercolor obviously, and 2 mystery art boxes each month, and it's a lot of fun, so welcome if you're new. Back to regularly scheduled programming here. In the video last Friday, you guys voted that in my watercolor drawer, in my art haul with a twist video, that you would like to see this Cloverleaf palette set up and ready to go. So here it is. And these are all of the tube watercolor paints that I own. With the exception of these are my Winsor & Newtons. I won't be using these. We're going to talk about those in a minute anyway. Since we're going to set this palette up, we now have to decide what paint to put in it, and this is the hardest thing ever. So when they were all stuffed in this tin, because this is the tin that I keep all my tube paints in, it looked like the choice was going to be absolutely impossible. But when I set them out on the desk in their separate little categories, they don't seem that intimidating. And in fact, it helped me narrow things down considerably because I already have Sennelier set up in this palette. So if I want to use Sennelier paints, I would just grab this palette. So no reason to set up another one. I already have Daniel Smith set up in this palette, so no need to set up another one. I already have Core set up in this little portable painter palette and this tin palette here. And if you look at the size differences, I would just grab this tin if I wanted my Core paint. So we're going to leave Core out. Not to mention, I only have, with the exception of the indigo, the small little tubes of Core paint. So I didn't want to use them all in dry form. Sometimes I think I might use Core paints wet. We're going to play with that later on in my life. As far as Mission Gold paints go here, however, I do have quite a few palettes set up with Mission Gold paints. I have this little portable micro painter. If you missed those videos, I'll try and link them down in the description box below. So I have this one set up with 6 Mission Gold paints. This one I set up in another video with 11 Mission Gold paints. So yes, I could grab that. And this palette has all my Mission Gold paints, but it would be hard to travel with based on that it's very, in my opinion, cheap plastic, and it takes up a lot of space if you were to try and put it in a backpack or in your luggage. Good news about this is I did swatch out all 36 colors though, and I'm thinking because these are slightly larger tubes than my Core that I would go ahead and choose 14 other colors that maybe I haven't chosen before, except I do still need some very Core colors that are gonna be doubled up. It's the way it is. So yes, I think I'll set those up with Mission Gold. Before we get started, this little pan here is what came with the palette, and it will hold 14 colors, so 13 full pans basically and 1 half pan. And so this can come out, and then you can see I've been playing with other half pans and full pans just to see what my options were. And I could fit, I think this was 18 full pans in here, or if I put these here, because you would never put them here, I just have them here for demonstration purposes only, so that you could see that the main palette compartment would fit 30 half pans. So I have 36 Mission Gold paints, and for a second I thought, oh, that'd be so cool because I could use all my Mission Gold paints and just have them all in this little palette here. But alas, only 30 half pans fit. And I really like using full pans too. And so, you know, having 18 instead of 13 and a half, 14, would be really fun too. But long story short, I think I'm just going to use this since it came with it, even though, you know, to change out a color, you would have to completely use it up or try and pry it out somehow. I think I'm going to do that anyway. But I did want to show you how you could fit other pans in here. It is tempting to take like some of my favorite colors from each of them. I just don't know Daniel Smith and Sennelier well enough yet to know what my favorite colors with those might be. Before we get started on this little adventure, I did want to ask you guys if there's anyone out there that would be interested in these paints that maybe can't afford their own watercolor paints, because these are artist grade watercolors from Winsor & Newton. I just don't have the opportunity to use them wet as often as I'd like, and when you dry these out, what I have found when I dried them out anyway, is that they're very hard to re-wet, and I don't like them nearly as well as these others, and I don't think they should just be sitting in here because I know I'll never use them anytime soon, and I'm afraid they're going to dry up in the pan. So I was thinking I would give these away with this little tube squeezer I found in my art haul from home video. One of you has a desperate desire for watercolors and can't afford to buy them, Let me know in the comments below, and if there's more than one of you, I will do a drawing and choose who gets these. I wanted to take a minute and show you the reality of how big this palette actually is. This is that huge Mission Gold palette I have, but when you put them side by side, this one actually takes up more desk real estate than this one. So my idea is to pull out this very flat one. I don't think I'll use that as much as I'll use these other mixing areas, and that's plenty of mixing area. If I can do that, then it suddenly takes the palette down to that size, which is more manageable. And it's also more manageable to have one flat side for me because I can put whatever paper that I'm working on here and have this flat side. Now, if this were here, I couldn't do that, or I'd have to put it up in this corner, and then that would be a long reach to get up to this one. So I don't like that, and I think I'm gonna try and pull that off. Just like that. And I actually will probably pull these pins out because I can store these with this. I have a drawer over there that just has like extra miscellaneous stuff like this in it. So if I ever sell this palette or give it away, I can get it back to the way it was when I got it. Yeah, so I lost that mixing space, but I think for me, palette is a lot more usable now. Those are not sharp, so you should still be able to put it in your bag just fine. If you wanted to, you could sand them down just a little bit, but I don't think they need it. An hour and a half later, I have chosen my colors. Now, I only have 13 here because I want to use these today or when they dry out and see if I'm missing something, if there's a gap that I need to fill in, and if so, I will put that in this little half pan slot there as a fill-in. Let's get to pouring. I think what will be most useful to me will be this sideways direction, which means I will fill them on that side. I wanted to do just one yellow, permanent yellow light, but I wasn't brave enough, so I stuck the lemon yellow in there, and it's getting very low, so that's going to have to be one I put on the to replace list when I get done with my buying freeze or Christmas comes and I can ask for it for Christmas. Lemon yellow, PY3, light fastness of 4, semi-transparent, semi-staining. Big slots for paint, by the way. This is about twice as tall as a full pan and about the same size as far as the dimensions, but it's just twice as tall, so no need to completely fill that up. Permanent yellow light, PY 154, light fastness, 5 stars, transparent, semi-staining. So if you're new to me and my channel, I'm not filling them up all the way because it's fun to use part of your pan when you have a pan this big, at least for me, to use part of that pan for getting like a lighter version of your paint without pulling it off and using up the mixing space in your palette. So when these dry out, and you can see I just put it on a little bit of an angle, you can pull some out there and dilute it with water right in the pan that it's in. And so that just keeps your mixing space available for other things. Also, I'm not completely filling them up because maybe I'll want to change the colors sometime relatively soon in the future, and it would take forever to use up that much paint. Yellow-orange, PO 73, PY 65, light fastness of 4, transparent, semi-staining. I tried to choose colors that weren't necessarily ones I pick all the time, with the exception of the yellows, because this set only has these 2 yellows in it, unless you count permanent yellow deep right there, which is very orange. So those yellows had to make the cut. So I have my favorite sweatshirt on. It's a little ratty, but you know, comfort, people, comfort. Quinacridone, permanent rose. PV19, light fastness 5, semi-opaque, semi-staining. Sadly, these are getting low. I think these are only 7 mil tubes, so they are not huge, but they are bigger than my 5 mil core tubes. Quinacridone, Crimson Lake. PR202, light fastness 5, transparent, non-staining. And this color looks pretty, and I'm excited to have it in a palette for once. Aren't they so pretty already in there? They're just gorgeous. Yellow-green, PG36, PY3, light fastness 4, semi-transparent, semi-staining. Now I chose this one because I have PY3 here and I could make my own kind of yellow-green, but PG36 is nowhere in this set. And so I thought, based on the fact that I want to try using some colors that I don't have in other palettes, and the fact that I don't have a PG36 anywhere, so I couldn't mix this particular color, that I would try that. So yellow-green goes in the palette. I need to not open this over these others because you can see how it just dropped into my orange there. Van Dyke Green, PG7, PBR 25, light fastness 5, semi-transparent and semi-staining. Open this over on the side this time. Now this is a very dark green, like that. I wanted to try it. I've been wanting to put this green in a palette for a long time. I just wasn't brave enough. I'm like, oh, I need other colors, and I could mix this with the sepia and sap green or hooker's green or something, but we are trying that. Red brown, that's this color here. It's a single pigment color, Van Dyke brown, another dark brown, but I wanted it. PBR7, light fastness 5, semi-transparent, non-staining. Look, I keep dropping colors in there. Gonna have to do some decontamination before the day is over. The last for this row, the bright clear violet, PV3:2, PB29, PR122. Uh-oh. This only has a light fastness of 2. Semi-transparent and semi-staining. Light fastness of 2, huh? Let's pull out that red violet, see what it had. Here's the red violet. Ah, light fastness of 5. What do our blues have for light fastness? 4, 5, and 5. Okay, so I'm thinking, not that light fast, I'm not terribly concerned about light fast. This is something I want to be aware of, but I did not realize this purple was only a 2-star. So what I'm wondering is, put the red violet in that has the light fastness of 5, and if I want a blue or violet, add blue. I think we're going to, just because I have this in the other palettes, so why not try something different? And if it doesn't work out, I guess I have my little half pan slot available. So we're switching that out. Red violet, PR122, PB29, light fastness of 5, semi-transparent, semi-staining. This will be a fun new palette for sure. All kinds of colors I never put in there before. All right, on to the blues. Peacock blue is a color I've been dying to put in a palette. It just never seemed really practical, but I want it, so I'm gonna have it, darn it. And I will find ways to use it. Yes, I will. Next is the Cobalt Blue, hue number 1, PB29, PB15:3, light fastness 5, semi-transparent, semi-staining. I do have this in one of my other palettes. Yeah, it's the small, tiny palette. And the last blue, Prussian Blue, PB27, light fastness of 4, semi-opaque, and staining. But again, I've been wanting this blue in one of my palettes for a long time, but it just didn't seem all that practical. It reminds me a lot, though, of an indigo, so I think that'll be fun. I really like indigos, but if you look at the indigo in Mission Gold, it's very gray, so this Prussian blue I thought would be a good choice. I was so impatient and excited to see these out on a swatch sheet and in a painting that I didn't even wait for them to dry, so it was kind of interesting to use these wet because I hadn't really done that in a long time, so it was fun. It was like, oh, yep, that's a lot of paint on the tip of the brush. Oh, gotta be careful. It was really fun doing this square swatch sheet too. It was a totally different shape than I've ever used before, and having the full pans is always nice because you get such a nice big swatch available to you, so you can do the full color, the mass tone, you can lighten it out and just see the whole range of your color. And I just love swatching the full pan size things. It's really nice. I just grabbed my Royal & Langnickel round size 6 brush that I got in one of the mini subscription boxes, and it's one I keep reaching for again and again when I want a slightly smaller round brush than my Winsor & Newton. So that was a good find there, really good thing we got in a subscription box. Liking it. Well, here are my color choices. Oh man, I don't know. I think I wish I would have done a mixed palette of all the different brands. I just don't know some of my brands very well yet, but I guess that would have been a good opportunity to get to know them. I suspect I'm going to want another green in here. I use green a lot, all the time, but I don't know. This will be fun to see how this goes, and we can decide what color should go in that half pan. And if I don't like this palette right here, I'll just stick my full pans in here and make yet another one. I could also, because these are really thick, remember I told you that? I could stick them on some kind of foam board and have a removable palette just like this one, and could actually switch these out whenever the mood strikes. So I could put another removable palette in here, and maybe I'll do that with a mixed palette like a lot of you suggested. I think a mixed palette at some point would be really, really fun. For example, and unfortunately I don't have it in a tube, but in the last video, that Azo yellow that I was using, I was totally in love with. Now that was the Rembrandt brand, and I only have the half pans of that. But oh my goodness, that Azo yellow, I could just live with that all the time. I would know already that that would be a color that I would put in a mixed palette. I just don't have anything but that half pan. So yes, I guess I know a color or two that I would definitely want to include, but I would need to kind of think about it a lot more to figure out what to do beyond that. All right, let's paint. Let's do a painting, man. It's time for a painting. And hey, it's not a subscription box, and I actually said the word right this time, so I can use whatever paper I want. That makes me happy. So you saw these were still wet when I used them, by the way, and so it's definitely really easy to dip in and grab a lot of paint all at once, but then you kind of can wipe it back off your brush a little bit inside this pan. That mostly works, but I do like paints when they're dry a lot of the time. Wet paint for me, I think, is really great for big washes, things like that. All right, I let it dry because it was just driving me crazy. I just always forget this about Etchr paper, that it stays wet way longer than like the other paper that I always use. So I'm like, okay, this should definitely be dry enough to stick this tree in. Well, it's not. So now we have a very foggy tree and foggy landscape. So it's not fully dry. You can see it's still really warped, and it is cool to the touch, but it's not wet enough that my paint is just going to spread everywhere. So I kind of like that effect in a sense, but I had so much water, and long story short, pigment is not deep enough, spread too far, but now that it's drier, I can go put details in and make it exactly how I want it. So that's going to be awesome. Here it is in all its glory. I do not like it. Maybe I will like it tomorrow. Today, I don't like it. That's okay. It's my learning curve, I think, with this paper. Hit again. Struck again, ladies and gentlemen. And it was a little different using the paint still wet. Not bad at all, just different. But I still liked it. As far as color choices, I think they're fine. I think they'll be good. I was concerned about the blues, but I made a pretty purple. Even though I had the red violet, that's not very purple. fact, when I swatched it again, I was like, hopefully adding the blue like I originally was telling you guys will work, because there's no good purple in here. But at least it's light fast, not that it matters doing all this sketchbook stuff, but it's good to know. It's a comfort thing, you know? All right, I wish I could paint more with this today. I'm just out of time. I have to leave for a 10-day trip, so I have to move on to the next thing, but I don't know. It's okay. You know what I'm most disappointed about? And not the painting itself, it's just that I lost my sun so much behind that tree. So I should have put the tree, or the sun, I should have put the sun a little farther this way, and then I probably would be okay, happy with this. And I wanted to do a muted thing because I've been dying to try the Van Dyke Brown and the Van Dyke Green colors. And so I definitely got to use those, so that was a win. And I just have to get used to how wet the paper stays. It's still wet. The sky is still damp, it's still cool to the touch. I hope you had fun. Thanks so much for joining me. There'll probably be bloopers. I have no idea until I go to edit these things. And it is the same day. I have a different shirt on because Cozy Shirt collects all the pet hair in the house. So it's hard to paint when pet hair just keeps falling on everything. So yes, I did change my shirt, but same day. Anyway, not that it matters at all. I almost forgot, you guys. So in the beginning of this video, if you even remember that far back, I have no idea how long this has ended up being. I am going to let these go to somebody who actually really needs them. So I'm hoping I actually can find somebody needy down in the comments below that would want these paints. But this palette, I am almost sure, has the Winsor & Newton paint in there. I think that's what these colors are. So I'm going to let this go with that. And that way they'll have a palette and a paint, and I'll even find a brush that I don't need that might be good. This brush we just got with that Paletteful Packs box, and it was with the DaVinci paint. Oh, it kind of looks crooked, but I didn't even notice that when I was using it. But I liked the brush a lot, and I had no problems with it, and maybe this brush can go with this whole set. So leave a comment below if you are somebody who could really use some paint and just can't afford any right now, or if you know somebody in need that would really appreciate these items, then I will get them this entire set. Bye again. Hello and welcome to another watercolor filled day on our channel here. Nope. Oh, 20. Oh my gosh, I was so wrong. Okay, so 20. This is actually 20 full pans, 30 half pans. Hey, cooperate. Struggle is real. Ugh. Oh, here I am opening it over the thing again.